So welcome everyone to the monthly virtual gathering of the Canadian Eco-Psychology Network. Hello, my name is Carol Koziel and I'm the founder of CEN. And today we're going to have a presentation from Bonita Ford. But first, a few words about Bonita. Bonita gives courses and workshops in permaculture, nonviolent communication, Reiki, and gardening. She has led groups around the world for over 18 years and is the author of Embers of Hope, Embracing Life in an Age of Ecological Destruction and Climate Chaos. Bonita has a B.Sc, a Bachelor's in Science in Biochemistry from Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario, a Master's in Arts and Holistic Health Education from John F. Kennedy University in California, and in a diploma in permaculture from La Université Populaire de Permaculture in France. She co-presented at conferences at Harvard University and Trent University, and she has been a guest speaker at the University of Toronto, University of Ottawa, Algonquin College, John F. Kennedy University, and Merritt College. Welcome, Bonita. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your wisdom with us today, and the airwaves are yours.
Thank you very much, Carol. I'm just feeling my heart is very warm just seeing several familiar faces in this group and to be with all of you today. I want to start just by acknowledging where I am. So the place where I live is in a town that we call Perth, and it's on unceded Algonquin, Anishinaabe, Omamawinini territory. And the reason that I start with this is because my life and my work are very much rooted here in the land, and my heart is very much rooted in the land, and my body is so nourished by the food and the medicine on this land. And it's really important to me to acknowledge that I am in a lineage of people trying to take care of this place where I live. And also because when I look at the world, and especially in these times, I really believe that the systems that are oppressing Black people and Indigenous people and poor people are the same systems that are degrading and destroying the living systems and the natural world around us. And so for me, I really begin from that place. And I also want to place myself in a lineage of teachers as well too. And some of the most important teachers in my life now are the Anishinaabe grandmothers and grandfathers in my life who bless me with their friendship and help just in their soft and gentle ways help me connect with where I am. And so I just invite us to just take a moment to be aware of where we all are. Carol invited us all to start with naming the places where we live, and I invite us just to be really mindful of the communities where we are. So the communities of people, as well as the ecological communities, the plants and the animals that are around us in this very moment, outside our doors, outside of our windows. And so as Carol said, my background is in permaculture, teaching permaculture and nonviolent communication. I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a climate scientist. And what I share in this book and what I would like to share with you today, or the little tidbits, are really come from my life experience, come from my experience as a teacher, as a facilitator, and also as a human being living here on Mother Earth in this very challenging and precarious time. And so what I'd like to do is just start with a very short reading from the book, and then we'll go from there. So, Embers of Hope, Embracing Life in an Age of Ecological Destruction and Climate Chaos. What this book is about. I'm concerned we are killing the living world that makes our survival possible. I want to imagine a healthy future for the children I know. Right now, I worry about the hardship they will have to bear in their lifetimes. When I chat with people, be they neighbors or strangers, most agree that things are not working in some way. The state of our environment is dire, our economies are unstable, and our political systems do not serve the average citizen. In addition, many of us may be dealing with personal challenges such as a serious illness, the loss of a loved one, or other trauma. It's not easy to deal with all of this and still keep our hearts open. The future of life on Earth is uncertain and our lifetimes are finite. Considering our own deaths as well as the possibilities of climate catastrophe and perhaps even our collective extinction shows us what we have to lose. If we are to find happiness in the face of this, I believe it is up to us to create it while making a contribution to the world. Embers of Hope is about doing just that, embracing life in uncertain times. In this book, we explore death in order to reconnect with our vitality, and we confront ecological devastation in an effort to rediscover our oneness with all of life. Although reflecting on these things may feel uncomfortable or scary at first, ultimately they lead to uncovering what is truly important to each of us. Personally, my perspective has been radically transformed by the deaths of a dear friend and a close family member. I learned through them to be grateful, to do small, meaningful things each day, to give back to the community, and to let go so that when it's my time to die, hopefully I can be at peace. My loved ones' journeys helped me see our global ecological crisis through new eyes. Previously, I thought there were only two options: to be hopeful and do everything in my power to change things, or accept that there's nothing I can do and give up. I now try to hold both perspectives. I'm doing what I can to foster a healthier world and make peace with the end. I am nurturing new possibilities and trying to be open to receiving what life brings. When we take the step of acknowledging our own mortality, how does this affect the way we live? When we look at the threats to our planet home, how does this compel us to act? We can nurture ourselves and the life around us through our choices. Those choices can be as simple as helping a neighbor, or they can be as significant as protecting a forest or starting a nonprofit to serve food and secure people in our own community. If the end is near, then now is the best time to appreciate life, to feel the air in our faces, to sing, to sit under a tree, to hug a friend. I hope this book will help you realize or remember how you want to live. May this nourish the seeds of possibility and the embers of hope that you carry. So I am going to slowly transition over to a slideshow here, and let's see. Here we go. So again, I just want to start from this place of connection from my heart to all of your hearts, from the land where I live to the land where all of you live, whether or not you are gardeners, whether or not you are tree huggers or farmers or land and water protectors. We all have our feet on the ground at some point. We all breathe the air. We all drink the water from where we are. And so just really starting from this place of acknowledgement. And what I'd like to share with you in our short time together is just invite you on a brief movement through Embers of Hope, through the journey that I am inviting readers to come along on. And in the book, I start with inner capacities. And the reason that I start with this is because I think for most people, the topics of death and ecological crisis and potential human extinction are really challenging topics. And so I start our journey today and for the reader in the book with these personal resources. And so what I would invite us to do right now is just take a moment to, in the chat box, if you like, and just to remind folks that we are recording, so you don't have to do this if you don't feel comfortable. So I would invite you just to write in the chat box 1 or 2 words for things that you do to take care of yourself. So what are 1 or 2 things that you do for self-care? So if you want to take a moment to just type that in the chat box right now. So being outside, walking, swimming, gardening, one of my favorites as well. Being in the natural world, talking to trusted people, yes. Exercise, that's strength-based. Moving our bodies, being in our bodies. Sleep, precious sleep, yes. And being outside, absolutely. Swimming, sleeping. Fresh food, yes. Eating. I love gardening for all of these reasons, for being outside, for moving my body, for eating, looking at the stars, gathering tea, gathering medicine. Yes, being in touch with friends and family. Thank you, everyone. So I just want to remind us that, and I think especially for this group, we are aware of the tools that we have, and especially when we are facing such challenging topics, to really be intentional about using those tools, really be intentional about taking the time to take care of ourselves, to taking the time, dedicating time for self-care, to help our nervous systems unwind. I really noticed that, I think especially in this period with COVID, I have noticed just an increased baseline of daily stress. And my partner and I, we watched a video a couple of days ago on Fairy Creek, which is a watershed on South Vancouver Island. It's one of the few areas on the island that still has old growth forests. And the video was about how it was about the logging and the clear cutting on the island around this watershed, and how a road is now being built to access Fairy Creek to start logging this old growth forest, these old trees. And when we watched this video, we just sobbed. It was a 2-minute video, but we just absolutely sobbed to think that we are still logging old growth forests, to think that especially given our climate crisis, we know that we need these trees to sequester carbon. We know that we need these healthy ecosystems to do what they do naturally, and we're still actively in the process of destroying them. And for me, part of that grief, part of that sadness, part of that for me was just a reminder of how important it is to me. And in the process with this book, I really invite people to, and I think that's why I start with this place of our personal resources, our inner capacities, the tools that we have for self-care, because I think it's so important. It's such an important part of our processes in order to best be of service. I think it's really important that we are able to fully show up. And in order to fully show up, part of that is being able to be present with the intense emotions that we may be experiencing as we are looking out at the world and seeing the suffering, seeing the destruction, seeing what's in the news, the current crises, the potential crises that we see ahead. And for me, the message that I really want to bring to readers in Embers of Hope is this idea that we not only can we hold our hope as well as our fear and our despair at the same time, I think it's important. I think it's important for us to grieve. I think it's important for us to make space for all of that, those natural emotions that arise in the process of doing this really hard work, and to, at the same time, support ourselves well in that process. And so again, for folks who are just joining us, what we were just doing in the chat box in the last couple of minutes was just sharing some of the ways that we each take care of ourselves. And a lot of the themes are very common: eating well, exercising, connecting to the body, being out in nature, connecting with loved ones. So it's just a reminder that yes, this work is, and I think part of the invitation here is to really fully embrace the emotional and the spiritual challenge and difficulty of doing this work as environmental activists, as psychologists, as everyday citizens that are trying to make a difference and trying to think about shaping our communities and our society going forward. There is a lot of emotional intensity, and I think some of us are really up against our spiritual edges, and I would encourage us to embrace that, to really resource ourselves, to support ourselves in that process, and to not just do the work that needs to be done, but to also really engage with the inner emotional, inner spiritual process that is being called forth in ourselves as we're doing this. So that's where we start from. That's where I invite the reader to start from in Embers. And then in the middle of the book, the middle part of the journey is about facing our mortality, facing the climate crisis, facing the idea of potential human extinction in our lifetimes, in a couple of generations. And these are really scary topics. And so what I would invite folks to do right now, again, and just to let folks, the folks who just joined us in the last few minutes, we are recording this call. And so if you feel comfortable, I would invite you in the chat box just to say a few words about how you feel about death, your own death, death in general. What is your relationship with death like? Just take a very quick moment, in 5 words or less. Just say something about how you relate to death. Honoring my mortality. Yes. Yes. Acceptance of the life cycle. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Sometimes I have a hard time not thinking about it too. Curiosity. Yeah, I agree. Mm-hmm. It can be hard to put into words. Mm-hmm. Yes. So meditation practice, letting go. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mystery. So embracing the mystery of it. Yeah. And I think it's natural too, very human to try to suppress our fears or anxieties about death as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing some of your personal reflections about death. Yeah, worrying about your kids. Oh, that is one of the reasons that I wrote this book as well too, and why I share this, or why I've shared so much of myself in the book. So I have found so much in my experience that learning to make peace with death is a crucial part of helping me to be able to show up authentically, with presence, with courage, with heart, in facing our ecological crisis. Because I think in the same way that we might fear our mortality. We might naturally want to suppress or shut down our fear or anxiety about our own suffering, about the suffering of our loved ones. I think that those same experiences or those same impulses, when we kind of blow those up 10 times or 100 times, those naturally become our responses to considering and confronting the idea of ecological and societal collapse, and the idea of us currently being in the sixth mass extinction, and the potential for the extinction of the human species. So I think it's very, very natural to fear death, to feel anxiety about death, to shy away from it. And at the same time, I've really learned through the death of two very close people in my life that how they held themselves, their lives, their loved ones, and their communities leading up to their point, their dying process, that really, all of that taught me how to live, or it gave me a model. They were role models for me in terms of how I want to live now when I look at the world, when I look at the uncertainty of the human species, when I look at the uncertainty of our civilization, when I look at the uncertainty of life on Earth. All of these ideas, all of what I learned from loved ones who are dying, and also with friends and strangers, being with people who were close to their transitioning process at the end of their lives, all of this has taught me and continues to inspire me and invite me to find a healthier way to be present with our mortality, and to be present with the precarity of our collective situation now. And I think we can show up for death. We can show up in our own lives for loved ones who are dying. We can show up in our daily lives knowing that we don't know if today is our last day. And we can also really fully show up in our lifetimes not knowing whether we will have our lifetime, whether we will live well through the rest of our lifetime, whether the next generation, the young people in our lives, whether they will have the opportunity to live well or not. We don't know. And it's an invitation to show up in a good way, and in all these ways that you have shared already, just the trust, the letting go, and gratitude. I think for me, gratitude today, gratitude in the present moment. And so I just want to take a moment here just to, and this touches back into the self-care piece, and which is why I start with that too, and I invite readers to do that throughout the book. So I just want to take a moment right now to have all of us just connect with ourselves and our breath and our bodies. So I'm just going to invite us to close our eyes, or to just have a very soft gaze at a point on the ground. And just feel the breath right now. You don't have to change anything, just allowing the breath to be exactly as it is. And just feeling the sensations of breathing. And now notice the feeling of gravity, the feelings, sensations of gravity on your body. Noticing your body making contact with the chair or the ground beneath you. And just letting this moment be an invitation into physical sensation. So just noticing the temperature of the air on your skin. Noticing the sounds around you. Noticing any smells. And now for a moment, I'm inviting all of us just to turn into our hearts and just notice the care that we have for the living world, for the communities around us, for our families and friends. Just noticing the care that we have for the places we live. Just noticing this love, feeling how precious all of this is to us. And we'll take 3 breaths from this place, and just imagining with each breath, with each in-breath, breathing in vitality, life energy. And with each out-breath, just sending good wishes to all of these people and places that we care about, that are precious to us. And slowly, as we're ready, opening our eyes, coming back to the group. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time right now talking about the ecological or environmental challenges that we're facing. I'm imagining that a lot of us are well aware of these things. And in the same ways that when we are facing, whether they be personal crises or showing up for a loved one who is in crisis, I just want to remind us all that when we're reading about and engaging in work around the climate, around for Mother Earth, just to really be very mindful, to connect with that place of love, that place of care that really fuels us, to be mindful of continuing to nourish ourselves, and to also take the time that we need to, whether we're taking care of a loved one who has a chronic illness, or whether we're tending to Mother Earth for the next few decades of our lives. I think it's really important for ourselves to take the time out to really resource and nourish ourselves. And so the last part that I want to share with you in the book, so the heart of the book is it's about facing our mortality. It's about facing the precarity. It's about really confronting what we have to lose. And the last part of the book, and the last part of this journey that I invite you all on, is then to ask ourselves, so knowing what we have to lose, how do we want to live? How do you choose to live? How could you choose to live differently? And so just being aware for yourself of the choices that you make on a daily basis, the small choices and the big choices that you make in your life. And the small choices, whether they be about where your food comes from, or how you interact with your neighbor or a stranger on the street. And the larger choices, when you come to choice points in your life, whether it's about making a career change or 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 moving to another country, just when you come to those choice points, really being mindful about and intentional about how do you want to live. And for me, the last part of this book is I started from this place of talking about holding both, being able to hold both hope and despair. And for me, a big part of what Embers is about is being able to hold acceptance of what is, as well as move into creating possibility. And I fully believe that in our culture, most of us are not happy, that most of us are. And so being in a capitalist culture, we're completely supported in consuming, consuming, consuming. And at the end of the day, I think that when I look back at my life, when I sit and meditate, and when I look back at how I lived, none of that has anything to do with any of the things that I've acquired, with the trainings that I have, with the courses I've taught. It's none of that matters at the end. When I think about, when I sit and imagine my life ending today, it's really about the relationships. It's really about what I gave. It's really about what I received. And it has nothing to do with what I attained. And it has nothing to do with the achievements that I can put down on a piece of paper. It's really about moments where I really connected with other people and where other people opened themselves to me. And it's moments where I stopped and was able to connect with and appreciate beauty in life that was absolutely free. And so the last part of this book is really about, creating more meaning for ourselves. And I think it's an ongoing question. It can be an ongoing reflection. I think someone talked before about curiosity around death. And for me, the last part of this work is really kind of maintaining that open curiosity for the rest of our lives, asking ourselves, how can I create more meaning for myself? How can I create more fulfillment while taking better care of the life around me? And I think that's part of unraveling some of the damage that our culture and our society does. It's about, instead of leaving the world a slightly worse place for having been a consumer in this lifetime, can we actively and intentionally look to our lives, and at every moment when we're making a choice, small or large, asking ourselves, how can I today make a choice that is more nourishing for myself and for the others around me? How can I align my passion and purpose, my calling in this life, to contributing to the community, to helping to meet the needs of the people and the places around me? And so I would invite you again, if you feel comfortable, just in the chat box, just to take a moment to share a few words about how you take care of the life around you. How do you currently take care of the life around you? Or how would you like to take care of the life around you? So just a few words. I'm sorry we won't have a lot of time to go through long paragraphs. So just a few words. How do you take care of the life around you? How do you feel called to take care of the life around you? Servant leadership, organic gardening, live lightly. Yes, I am also, thank you. I'm also always looking for ways to do that. Looking for volunteer work. Yep. Yes. Yes, I also look for ways to make people smile. It's so, yeah, that's so easy. And thank you for sharing that. Creating awareness. Yep, doing something larger than yourself. Calling your mom weekly. Yes, 30 years of working for Mother Earth, community organizing. Yes. Creating space for people to metabolize heavy, painful feelings and reimagine activism in these times. Yes, thank you. Talking on radio about our precious earth. Yes. Reciprocity and mindful listening to humans and non-humans. Thank you, friends. So I just want to wrap up my sharing with a very, very short reading, and then we will open up to some Q&A from all of you. So Embers. Buried in the ashes, I can sense that a beautiful future is still possible. As I reflect on all that threatens our lives, I am keenly aware of my despair as well as my need to sustain hope. How will we choose to live? How will we contribute to the life around us? Please take a moment to breathe now. You are alive. Feel the love, care, and tenderness in your heart. Keep breathing. Give thanks for all that supports you. Notice the possibilities that whisper or call to you, and please nurture them.